Welcome to this month's Tailoring of the Month. This is a series that we do showcasing tailorings that are commonly asked for by our customers. This month, we're going to be going over custom package types. So today, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to start by showing you how to create a package type so that we can add one to our system, and then I'll show you how to tailor our forms to fit your new package type. So we're going to start in Agility Explorer. It's the AE here. We're going to go to File, Options. Then in options, we're going to go to packing and shipping, and we're going to go to package type. So here you can see I already have a few that I've added before to my system. Standardly, we give you cartons and pallets, but I also added containers and bags. Today, we're going to go ahead and add a type called a bottle. So I'm going to go to new type. I'm going to give it BTL for bottle. Description is going to just be bottle. Same thing with display description there. Nothing else here is really important right now. We could add sizes and things like that, but for today, we're not going to do any of that. We also don't want to require a parent relationship. We're just going to pack bottles on their own. So I'm going to hit OK here. And simply just like that, now I have the package type of bottle added to my system here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit OK there, and I'm going to add the package type to SAP. Anytime you add a package type in Wisys, you need to add it within SAP Business One as well. So I'm going to jump over here, and I'm going to go out to Modules, Administration, Setup. From in Setup, I'm going to go to Inventory, and I'm going to go to Package Types down here at the bottom. And I'm just going to add BTL here for bottle and update. So now this isn't really going to affect much today as far as the tailoring is concerned, but for the sake of our system working here, we have added our bottle as a package type within Wisys, so we can use that in the Wisys packaging layer, and then we added it in SAP as well, so that, of course, SAP can recognize our new package type. Now I'm going to hit OK, and our package type is set up, and we can get into our tailoring here. So now I'm going to go ahead and open up Form Studio, and I'm going to show you how to tailor applications on the handheld to fit our new package type. So, of course, if you're using something like a bottle or any kind of custom package type here, you're probably going to need to tailor a whole process worth of applications, but it's pretty simple. So first, we pick an application that we want to tailor. So I'm going to open up my Agility Pallets project here. And within Agility Pallets, we have multiple different packaging related forms, of course. And I'm going to find one that I want to use for bottle. And to me, it makes sense right now to use Pallet Build Multiple for bottles. So what I'm going to be doing here with this is I'm going to be creating and filling a mass amount of bottles. So Pallet Build Multiple, of course, gives us the ability to say, okay, we're putting X amount into a bottle, and we're going to do, this number of bottles, right? So I'm going to customize this to fit our bottle package type instead of pallets, of course. So first, I'm going to copy the form here. And instead of pallet build multiple, I'm going to call it create bottles. Give it the same description as well. And again, here you can name this whatever you want, but of course, the big thing here is now we're using the bottle package type. So instead of saying anything about pallets, we're going to reference bottles the whole way throughout the form. So I hit OK. Now we have our create bottles form here. I'm going to clear out my terms ID so that it will actually say create bottles. The terms ID allows us to translate to other languages. Of course, create bottles is not in there for translation right now, so I'm just going to create it myself. So now I have my create bottles made. And the next important step here, as we've talked about before in the past, is I want to put this into a custom project so that whenever I update Wisys, it's not going to overwrite my new form. So I'm going to go to move form. I'm going to select project. I'm going to scroll down and find my tailoring of the month project in here. Tailoring of the month. Okay. And now it's moved. So I'm going to go out and go back in to my tailoring of the month project here. Let's see. My security level must be administrator. Yep, there it is. All right, so here in tailoring of the month, we have our create bottles form. So there's a variety of different things we can do with this form. One of the first things I'm going to do, just because the icon is a palette, I'm going to change that to avoid any confusion for the users that are actually using the handheld here. So instead of clicking those three dots, I want to click the drop down and I can select an image, that it will show up on the Wisys handheld here. So create bottles, not sure what's necessarily a great fit for this. So I am simply just going to use this down arrow here that shows that we're filling the bottle. All right. So now that is added. All right. And now you see my symbol has changed here. And now I'm going to go ahead and start making the changes from packing multiple pallets to creating bottles here. So first I have two fields that show up here that say pallets and reference pallets directly. So that's going to be the first change I'm going to make is to the user interface. We already changed the title to create bottles. Now we're going to change this to quantity in bottle. So I'm going to get rid of my terms ID. I'm going to change the naming convention here. That's just good for our XML so you know what you're working with there. So I'll call this text quantity bottle. And I'm going to caption it quantity in bottle. Nice. And then here, same thing. We'll just call this bottles because that's going to be our number of bottles. Bottles, tab down. And then I'm going to just call this, we'll copy the same naming convention, number of bottles. Okay, tab down again, keep terms ID blank. And now we're good. We got our quantity in bottles, our quantity in bottle, number of bottles. Now the user interface is showing, okay, we're doing this for bottles. We're no longer doing this for pallets. It's all about bottles now. So as far as the user interface, there's our start. That's what we're looking at. Pretty simple here. Now, there's one other key change to make here on this particular form. So with any of these forms, we're just really replacing, right, the package type that we had originally with our new package type. So in this form, where this is going to come into play is going to be in our actions here. And whenever we actually create the package, we are creating a pallet. So we want to go in here and change it so that we're no longer creating a pallet and we're creating a bottle. We actually have a constant for package type on this form. And I'll show you that here. Our constant for package type sets it as a pallet. So we could create a new constant for package type, or we could actually just go to that action there and hard code it. I'll do it the right way and create a new constant for package type. So string package type value is BTL. Okay, close. And now what has happened is anywhere where we're using that package type constant, that's why I called it the right way, it's going to automatically change to bottle. Instead of me having to go in here, go to my action and hard code this to say BTL, or PLT or whatever package type I'm using. Now in this case, it's going to pull in that constant, which we know we set correctly to BTL. So anywhere else where that is, it's going to pull bottle in instead of pallet now. So now our action is set. Of course, here we have our print document is set to multiple pallets. This depends on where you want to store your label. Of course, I could just create a multiple bottles label and put it in multiple pallets. Or I could set the label up elsewhere. And if I wanted to do that, I could just disable this action and add a new print document based on where I set up the print. So maybe I do it in a user defined space, and that's where I'm keeping my bottle labels. But in this case, if I'm not using pallets, my recommendation would just be to put in that multiple pallets folder, and there's our label ready to go. So now we have this all set up here. We have our action printing the correct thing. We talked about our print document here. So our action's passing the correct package type. Print document is good based off of the rules that we defined. If we go and check in here, of course, something like items in the lookup, there's not going to be a where statement that says that we're looking for pallets in this case, right? But with a lot of our other packaging forms, that is in the where statement. So, you want to be aware of those things too and changing our where statement. Like when you have a pallet lookup at the top of a form, even though you change it to say bottle, of course, you have to change the package type in there. I'll show you an example of that. But for create bottles, or based off of our create multiple pallets form, this is done theoretically here. I changed everything to say bottle, passed the correct package type. Now I have a tailored form that I can use with my new package type. Now, just because that's not fully representative of everything you have to change, for example, if we go to something like load pallets here, where you're actually selecting, if this was load bottles and you're actually selecting a bottle and putting it on a shipment, you would have to go into this pallet lookup, and a key thing here would be to change, your package type in the pallet lookup, of course. You would want to change that package type to say, or your package number to say bottle. Um, there is no package type in the where in this case actually, but you could add in your where statement where package type equals bottle, something along those lines. But basically what we're doing and what we did with the form we created is we're just changing every reference to a pallet just over to a bottle, or if we use a carton form, every reference to a carton, we change it to a bottle. So just to rehash what we did here, if we go back into tailoring of the month, we took that pallet build multiple form. We changed all the references on the user interface from pallet to bottle. So the title now says create bottles. These two fields that reference pallets now reference bottles. Nothing else on the screen says anything about pallets. Of course, I changed our icon there. That's not 100% necessary, but in my opinion, if you put a form out with a picture of a pallet, but it's called create bottles, that may cause some confusion. So that's why, of course, I changed the image in that case. And then lastly, any actions, validations, lookup, SQL, anywhere where package type is. Of course, today I know the form, so I went through pretty quickly, but anywhere where we go in here and a package type is there, we want to assign it. See, there's no package type in this one, but any action, um, any lookup like we talked about before, if you see package type, you just change it from pallet to bottle. I can't stress that enough because this form didn't have as much going on as some other ones. You just want to go through each set of actions, each lookup, and make sure we're not referencing package type everywhere. Thanks for watching.